Hello, everybody. Welcome back to this is a review. I've done a review in a little bit. I'm going to start doing more of these reviews in general on the channel. So thank you for joining me. I figure what better way to kind of come back and do a review than do a full spoiler review of the final season of the Clone Wars, which is Clone Wars Season 7. And it was a really interesting season. I mean, I think from the get-go when this series, again, obviously this is spoiler heavy, so if you haven't seen it, I would go and watch it, or if you don't care, then so be it. That is the way. So this is going to be a lot of fun because we get to break down everything that went down this season and talk about some of the stuff maybe we liked, maybe we didn't like, maybe we thought was a nice throwback and all that. But it was cool to see what Dave Filoni wanted to do because, when Disney bought Lucasfilm back in whatever it was, 2012, the Clone Wars, before that, it looked like they were going to go on this path to finish up the way that Filoni and crew wanted to when it was on Cartoon Network. They weren't able to do that. When they were bought, it was announced that that was the end of Clone Wars, and they weren't going through with Cartoon Network anymore, and they were going to do this new series and Rebels and all that. And even though that Filoni was pretty excited that he got to do Rebels, he was bummed that he never got to finish out Clone Wars. Well, that changed when Disney Plus came around. And I think it was at Comic-Con a few years back when he announced that they were bringing back the final episodes of Clone Wars, and people lost their minds because it was finally they were able to finish up all these arcs that they had finished 6 seasons beforehand. Because even though the 6th season, by the way, that was released, and there was even that was kind of pushed out on, I think, Blu-ray and everything too, because it was the final season. And but he was able. There was all those episodes that were done, and we saw some great episodes in that arc. Obviously the Yoda one where he had seen all these visions of kind of stuff going down. But season 7 was going to be the one to really tie it all up, and we had seen stuff happen in books, and because the Dark Disciple novel, which was Christie Golden, and Asajj Ventress, again, spoiler reviews here in general, what happens, because maybe some people were asking what's going on, where's Asajj Ventress? Well, Asajj Ventress bit the dust in that novel, so that's why she wasn't around in this at all. So people were asking, where's Asajj Ventress? She dead. But there's other things that Filoni wanted to do. There are other canon episodes that are on YouTube and stuff too, like the unfinished animation of when they actually find the crystal for the Death Star and all these really cool things. So there was all these plans, and it was clear cut. So the fact that we got to do these 12 episodes into season 7, I was curious. I didn't know exactly what we were going to see, how we were going to tie it in, how it was going to tie up to the Revenge of the Sith, things that happened. What were we going to see? Because remember, back in the 2003 Clone Wars animated series, before the Clone Wars was even a thing, they went right into the events, and that's all. Not retcon, but it's not canon anymore. But it went all into the events of Revenge of the Sith. So I thought, okay, this is going to be pretty interesting to see if they do that the same way. I'm not bummed that they didn't do that. I mean, they certainly do some stuff inside of Revenge of the Sith, but 8 of these episodes are not really about doing that. It's not about tying up or connecting the prequels. It's not. And at first, I mean, if this, and I had said this a couple times, if this was like season 5, and I knew that there was going to be more shows coming down the line, what I had said was, then I understand having, the first 4 episodes be about the Bad Batch, and then the next 4 being about Ahsoka on the run, getting lost in Coruscant, and finding these sisters and going on this run, because those are like arcs that we saw commonly throughout all these seasons of the Clone Wars. But as I go back to it, would I still like to see a little bit more tie-ins? Because the last 4 episodes of this show, by the way, this season, are some of the best storytelling that we've seen so far in Star Wars. And I think it was a very good ending to what we got, or what has been set up in general. And we'll get into that in just a little bit. But what I can say, I think because we have had these 4 episodes, what I can say about the first 8 is that it ties up characters and threads that have been set up overall in a series. So even though the clones themselves, they're not as featured on, I mean, as far as really getting deep into them and learning more about Rex and Cody and things, you don't know too much about them, even though now, because of these shows, you care a lot more about them when you see them. But what I realize is that because the way that they set up these clones from the beginning, these were just this tie-ins that we wanted to see, and the fact that this whole storyline with Echo and trying to rescue him again and showing the brotherhood of the clones, it makes a lot of sense because we've been attached. It's like they were main characters of this entire show. So I get and I understand the Bad Batch episodes, and it was fun. It was almost like a Predator type thing of putting these squads together, and nobody turned on each other, which I was worried about. I was like, oh, we're gonna get another like mole inside of it, and we didn't. It just they were leading the campaign, and it was Anakin and Mace Windu, which were they had to use the Bad Batch with Rex, and I liked how the Bad Batch was sizing up Rex and the fact that they're kind of like these superior beings, these clones, but yet, the leader, I love the long-haired leader and all this stuff, and then the big ox. It did remind me of the crew in Predator. It really did, and they didn't want, they were fine. They were fine working with themselves. They don't need these clones that follow the Jedi and all, or they do too, but I mean follow like the rules. And I thought that was pretty interesting that they had done that the whole way, because once Echo gets caught up, and I didn't know what they were going to do with Echo. I thought they were going to, maybe because he was looped into this computer now and he was going to turn, but no, they didn't do that. They made him like he was part of the Bad Batch, and I liked the way that whole arc kind of ended. My question is, though, do those clones, did they have the chip on in their heads of Order 66? That wasn't ever reflected on. I'm curious. Did they have it, or were they able to remove it? I don't know. But either way, I thought there were some really cool scenes throughout the whole thing, because when it started, I was like, all right, how are we going to do this? And then as I reflected back on it, I think these 4 episodes are a good way to start. Now, as we get into season 5, and Ahsoka Tano, she befriends Trace Martez, who Trace and her sister are in the lower levels of Coruscant, and Trace is the one who is, she's just like having her like work on her ship, and there's this camaraderie at first, and all these things are kind of going down with her and Ahsoka. And it was a fun episode. I'm like, okay, how long are we staying here? And then her sister comes in, and then once her sister comes in, then we get into this whole mission with spice and stealing spice from other from these other drug lords, and going through and screwing over the gangsters, and that's when they really get into some stuff. And they say, like, a good angle. I would have preferred it not going 4 episodes. I don't think you needed to do 4 episodes. They're on this planet for so long, and Ahsoka at one point gets they keep getting tricked, keep going back into this jail cell. I felt like they spent like 87 hours in this jail cell. I think this could have been done in 2 episodes, personally. But there's some fun moments in it. We get the reveal that Ahsoka, like, the stuff that I did like was that the sisters, like the legend of the Jedi, of the stuff that they saw when they saw the Jedi, and the way that they responded to the Jedi, and wondering, and then Ahsoka really battling, because Ahsoka at this point is battling with the fact she's still on the run. So I liked that, and I liked that it was really this. It was her having to discover her, because she had to, a couple different times that she had to save the sisters with the Force, and had to kind of sneak it at one point, but then she's like, yeah, here you go. And even at the end, when she's using a lot of the Force powers, they come back to save her. I liked that battle that she was having within herself. That, to me, was what these 4 episodes really were about. It was about her rediscovering that this is who she is and what she has always been about, regardless of what was going on, regardless of the fact that she was on the run, that she needed to discover this about herself, and that there's just so much good inside of Ahsoka, of all these things that she was doing, which ultimately leads us to the end of those episodes when Bo-Katan shows up. Loved that reveal. Thought Katie Sackhoff crushed it as usual, but comes in and then says, no. We got something going down. And that's it's time. Maul. He's on Mandalore, and I need your help. You gotta help me take him out. And that's exactly what goes down in the episode of episode 9, where it really starts to. I think people will be talking about these 4 episodes. You have to look at these 4 episodes as a movie. I think that if you compare these, to be honest, the first 4, the second 4, and then the last 4, you can look at them all as 3 separate little movies, because they all were. They all had that's what I really did enjoy about it, is that at least there were all these different arcs. There weren't little half-an-hour arcs, and even though I think that the second arc went on too long, you're still invested, and by the time all this stuff goes down, you spend enough time with both Ahsoka and these sisters that, like I said, I cared very much about these characters, and in my head I'm going, well, how are we wrapping? What are we doing? What's like? Why wasn't this done like 2 seasons ago? Nonetheless, it ends with that moment of Bo-Katan coming, saying, "All right, here we go." And then in episode 9, Old Friends Not Forgotten, you got Ahsoka and Bo-Katan. They go and they get in contact with Anakin and Obi-Wan. And that moment was the moment that we saw in the trailer that Filoni showed. I think it was at Comic-Con, and the place lost their minds. It's like, well, this is an interaction between Anakin and Ahsoka, which I thought was great. And they're basically asking for help to get Darth Maul, because he's on Mandalore. Obi-Wan doesn't want to do it. Anakin and the 501st basically tell Ahsoka, "Welcome back, kid. We're so excited to have you." And then we find out that Grievous is attacking Coruscant, which, of course, is the whole capturing of Palpatine. So Anakin and the 501st, they get Ahsoka to Mandalore, and they force Maul and Gar Saxon into retreat, and Bo-Katan gets the Prime Minister, and Ahsoka basically goes into the tunnel and then right into Darth Maul and that whole thing, and that was set up. And I know people were kind of saying, "Wait a minute, this is going to be?" We know from Rebels that Maul and Ahsoka really haven't done too much tangling. We don't really know that. We didn't know too much of that. We just know that they had tangled beforehand, and I think now that going back and watching those Rebels episodes, it means a lot more, especially knowing where it goes in those 4 episodes. And this is something also that I thought was really interesting in this movie, and I mentioned this on SEN. It opens not with the traditional Star Wars stuff. It opens with the John Williams classical Star Wars theme, which a lot of the music, and it can't be understated how great Kevin Kiner's music in general is in this overall series. I think his best work was a lot of stuff he did on Rebels, but I think that what he's done in these 4 episodes maybe top those, because he does some stuff in episode 11 that's just heartbreaking and terrifying and sets the mood so well. And then he's got this Blade Runner 2049 thing going on in the series finale that Kevin Kiner is a real master at this stuff, and I don't think gets enough credit for all the stuff that he's done in general. And this is another thing that I think is he should be celebrated for this score for what he's done in this series in general, but especially in these particular episodes. So yeah, Kevin Kiner is doing really amazing stuff. But we get into episode 10, which is the Phantom Apprentice. Now we leave off, and Maul and Ahsoka have this battle, and this is where Maul tells her about Darth Sidious, and basically, and Ahsoka tells Obi-Wan about Darth Sidious and says he also found out through Count Dooku that Sidious is the name of the Sith Lord who orchestrated all of the Clone Wars. So we also, Saxon, by the way, takes out Almec from the side there. He's about to give up information as they're trying to find out more, and we're getting to the bottom of what's going down with Sidious and what Maul knows, and starting to lead up to Order 66. And Bo-Katan is then helping Rex, and Ahsoka confronts Maul again, and that's when Maul tells her, like, I didn't really want you here. I wanted Anakin. I needed to talk to Anakin, because if I kill him, then Sidious ain't gonna have his star pupil that he thinks. And then that's when the fight breaks out, and Maul and Ahsoka have this brilliant fight all the way through Mandalore, and you have the Ray Park actually did the actions for Darth Maul's body as he's doing the fights, and the music that's playing throughout it, and the anger and passion and from Maul, and then the serenity from Ahsoka, and this beautiful battle, this lightsaber fight that they're having throughout the whole thing, and it's just Ahsoka's able to outsmart him, captures Maul, and there we go. And I thought that was such a great setup to me, the best episode of the Clone Wars. Maybe it's got to rank in the top 5, and that's Shattered, which is episode 11. It's over. Ahsoka and Bo-Katan have this really nice conversation out on the right before, and she's kind of lets her know that this is the last. By the way, I love the throwback to the old era of when the Mandalorians and the Jedi were fighting, and they needed these things to hold the Force. What she called them, force-wielding maniacs or whatever it is, and that's where they put Maul. And she's like, I thought your sister got rid of it. She's like, she did. This is the last one. This, to me, by the way, sets up the relationship of Bo-Katan and Ahsoka. I think Filoni is setting up. First of all, we know that Ahsoka, or at least is rumored that Ahsoka is going to come in and she's going to be in Mandalore, the Mandalorian. We know that, right? But played by Rosario Dawson. I'm more and more. I think that Katie Sackhoff will return as Bo-Katan. I think it makes sense. Or if it's not Katie Sackhoff, Bo-Katan, the character alone will return. I think it'd be silly not to have Katie, but maybe she doesn't. Maybe it's Bo-Katan comes back, and this sets up that relationship. This sets up for when Bo-Katan comes in, and then Ahsoka maybe can come in during that episode as well. She is with Sabine, so maybe they reconnect that way, or at least she was in Rebels. All interesting things, and it shows a nice relationship between them. So she gets on the ship, and this is where it all goes down. She gets on this ship, and it looks like, okay, here's the relationship she's had that we've had with Ahsoka and these clones for 7 seasons of this thing, especially with her and Rex. We know the relationship that they have. We obviously know the relationship they have in Rebels, and it's just beautiful, and they've done it again. Once again, they've done it. And then when there's a briefing that Rex needs to be in, but it ain't a briefing. It's from Sidious, and Ahsoka says, "No, I'm good. I'm not going to go in there." And she just kind of waits. She's waiting out. She's thinking about things, and then she gets that vision, and she hears it. And I love that they use the actual audio from Revenge of the Sith. You hear Hayden Christensen, and I just watched the scene recently, and Mace Windu is played by Samuel Jackson, and the whole scenario of like, I need him. And then, unlimited power, the whole thing, whatever it is. She feels something. She knows something's wrong. And then we flash into the actual room and execute Order 66. And we see it from a different perspective. And flashing back, by the way, I think this was in which episode was it? It was the it was this one, right? Wasn't it it was in the beginning of this episode. What I really enjoyed was seeing that scene in Revenge of the Sith where Mace Windu, and they basically say, listen, we have found Grievous. We've found Grievous, and by the way, I was wrong as far as when the attack on Coruscant. I don't think that was when Palpatine was captured. I might be wrong. Either way, the conversation that they had with Mace Windu when he's like, if Palpatine doesn't give it up after this dude is captured, then we got a problem. And that whole scene, they just repeated the dialogue from Revenge of the Sith. And then in Revenge of the Sith, it cuts off right after Yoda says a dangerous path we're going down here. That's where it cuts off in the movie. But Ahsoka walks in right afterwards, and that's when she's given the information that Obi-Wan's going to get Grievous, and that Anakin's off talking to the senator, and all of that. I thought it was really played very well to answer the questions of, well, where were these people? Well, now you know. But as we flash into the order the order to bring in Order 66, this scene, man, I've watched this scene now 6 or 7 times, and I'll probably watch it again. I can't even tell you how many different times. So the instinct in Ahsoka and the rattling of the hands of, and because Rex, I think, mentions Fives, who went through this whole thing. He was the first one to discover the plot, and I think it was season 5 that happened. And they thought he went rogue, and then Palpatine was like, "You got to get rid of this clone. This dude he's gonna rat the whole thing before we execute it." But I think that, and Rex mentions 5, so he shakes his head and he puts his gun, his blaster at Ahsoka, and she doesn't know what's going on, and the rest of them aim it. And he says at first, he goes, "I'll do it myself." And I'm thinking, oh, okay, well, I'll probably remove the chip already. But he's fighting with himself, and then they start firing on her. And the music that's playing as she jumps up, and she's just trying as hard as she can to reflect everything. It's just a focus on her as she's blocking it up. And then she jets out of there, and she's on the run. And getting the droids involved and all of that, and then finally having to get Rex and turn her back on her side. And it also showed the vulnerability of, because remember, when Order 66 happens, the Jedi are just kind of mowed down, and they can't fend off the clones because they're coming at them too fast, too furious, So you have, when Rex is getting, and we throw back to I'm one with the Force is with me, and she's able to locate where the chip is, and he pops up and saves her because she's getting hit, and she's like, it looks like, we know that's one of the things I think that if you watch Rebels, there's not as much stake to both these characters perishing if you know what's happening in Rebels, because they both survive. But still, it's still watching. I think that if you've never seen Rebels and you don't know enough about it, it's your first time, then you're probably like, oh my God, are they going to make it? What's going to happen? Maybe you don't think she's going to make it out. Either way, it still holds a lot of impact, regardless, in everything that's happening. And then that's where we end. So here, and this is like why I hope people watch this as an overall movie, because I think that you can watch this last episode and be underwhelmed at the time. Is only like 23 minutes. You can be underwhelmed that the majority of the episode is them trying to get out, and it doesn't have anything except that big tag at the end that I think some people could be upset about it. But if you watch it as the tag of the 4-episode arc, I think it's a great episode out, because she gets on the ship, she's trying to get out, she's with her old friend who we know the relationship that they have. Great moment where he's just like, they're gonna kill us all, man. We gotta take them out. They're gonna take you out. They're gonna take me out. They don't have loyalty right now to us. And she's like, that might be so, but I'm not gonna be the one that kills them. And he gets it. And they fight off together. And the Maul stuff, by the way, and I don't want to leave the Maul stuff out. The Maul stuff, the fact that she needs to use him in general, goes in there, causes diversion. And when he's walking down the hallways, slicing off heads that's the kind of stuff in Clone Wars that we were used to seeing. And the stuff like, that's like Mandalorian type stuff. And it was reminiscent where he brings the one trooper in, and the arm goes off. So, and he's all about himself. He's been a survivor. He's always been like that. And that moment where he's running through the ship, they're both running to the ship. Who's going to get to it first? He gets to it and he's out. And that moment was great. It's like, nice try. You're the one that wanted me to cause chaos. That's on you. So now they have, and the droids getting popped left and right. What do they call them? Filthy, dirty droids or whatever it was. That was pretty funny too. But they and I loved that moment where he was trying to. You see that the clones were so much smarter and better than the stormtroopers, because the stormtroopers and the stupid droids would always get fooled. Like Rex was saying, he was like, hey, he's trying to stall him, and he's like, enough. You're under arrest and treason for both you and her. We're gonna kill you both. And that's when it's everything, and Maul blowing stuff up and using the Force and causing the chaos. And it puts us into that place where, all right, it's going to crash onto this moon. And now what happens? How are they going to get out? A great moment where she's out in space, or not in space, but she's outside of the ship, and she's got to try to connect a couple times. She finally gets in the ship. They crash on the moon. They're getting out, and they flash forward, or she's got that Ahsoka kind of cape on. She's looking up at the thing. She drops her saber. I'm out. I'm done. This is it. And she just drops the saber, and someone wrote to me. She's like, "Well, what's the difference between her doing this and Luke in Last Jedi? There's no humor in this. This isn't this. I don't have an issue with the fact that Luke decided he didn't want the saber. I have the fact that he threw it over his shoulder for a joke. That was my particular. Some people really like that moment, but I just, for that particular, that's the difference in my opinion. She was over it. She was done with it. That was a very somber moment. She drops the saber, and she's just like, no, that's it. And then we fast forward to a time lapse where it's you get the Imperial droid is on. It looks like Hoth at this point, but it's just the moon where it's kind of frozen over. And now we have stormtroopers and not clone troopers, and then he shows up. Vader's there, and it's a great animation of Vader too. And he walks over and he kind of senses something. He leans down and he holds the saber and he looks up and he sees it's the thing from Mortis that was been protecting Ahsoka since the beginning, or since those episodes, and then carries it over to Rebels. And it's I'm trying to get the convoy's name. I don't remember. You guys will tell me. And anyway, so it's that particular moment. It just shows Vader has just lost so much, and the idea he knows that he at least assumes now that she's alive. His apprentice is alive, and the love that he had for her, like that redness and that evil that was coming, that kind of illuminating from his helmet when they show it. Such a great ending. So the more and more I love, like, that particular scene, it plays into the if you reflect on what all 6 seasons were, they're very different, and it's a very different tone, kind of lending itself to the era that we know in the original trilogy and Rebels and all of that. This is long gone is that Anakin Skywalker that we knew. She didn't get a chance to see it. It was kind of tragic that they had a nice little conversation before she went to Mandalore, but that was it. That was the last conversation those two ever had, and it's really sad when you think about it. So overall, I really, really liked this season. I would say that the first 4 and the last 4 are my favorites. The second 4, like I said, I think could have been toned down, but overall, I thought it was a great conclusion to this series. It was very well done. I think that we're going to see more things play into other parts of, like I said, Mandalorian. I think that if you watch this series, and especially Rebels, you'll have a better appreciation for Ahsoka Tano in general. But that was it, man. That was my review overall of the Clone Wars Season 7. Full spoiler review here. I hope you guys I hope you like the review, but I also hope you like the season. Go ahead and comment in the below. I'm sure there's stuff that I missed, stuff that you wanted to talk about. What did you like? What did you love? What didn't you like? Go ahead and comment. Please let me know. If you're brand new to this channel, please go ahead and subscribe. Click a like, leave a comment. Check out our show. We have a morning show here every morning, SEN Live, 10 to 12 p.m., and the Movie Trivia Schmodown, which is our wrestling/movie trivia. If WWE met Jeopardy, that's what it is. Check it out. It is every Friday. Well, it's every Thursday, Friday normally, but silly COVID. But right now, it's every Friday. Check out the playlist, the Movie Trivia Schmodown. Thank you guys for joining us here today. Really, really appreciate it. Looking forward to doing some more reviews with y'all. Peace out.